Welcome to Light on Suitability with Elizabeth Comeau and my co-host Daryl and Sean. We're here today with a very special guest, David Sloane, and I'm going to let David do his introduction so I don't screw it up.
Okay, I'm David Sloane. I'm a former life-term prisoner, I'm a co-founder of Life Support Alliance. Life Support Alliance is the only lifer-specific advocacy group, prisoner advocacy group in California. So we produce newsletters. We have a free newsletter that goes out monthly. We've got a quarterly newsletter that goes out by subscription, and we do a ton of other stuff. We visit prisons. We do presentations inside. I committed murder in August of 1989. I was operating on what I thought was my best option, and I've learned quite a bit since then. I knew it was once it happened, I knew it was the biggest mistake of my life. I did 23 and a half years on a 27-year to life term, and I was paroled through natural process through the Board of Parole hearings. I went to 3 parole hearings. My first 2 parole hearings, I was denied because I lacked insight, and I didn't understand the causative factors of my crime. And so I've done a lot of work in that area, and the things that we've found out about that, I try to take back into the guys inside. I've been out 9 years. I paroled February 4th of 2013. And so today we're going to talk about the challenges, I believe, of parole, and I'm ready to get right into it if you'd like to.
Absolutely. And I did want to just mention as well, you and Vanessa were instrumental in creating an insight program called Connecting the Dots. And I think that you, number one, still bring that into the prisons when you can, but also have a correspondence class for connecting the dots. I think I also saw something new, denial management. And then you have that amends project as well. So all those 3 are related to insight, causative factors. We say self-awareness now is what they started calling it, but they always want to change it.
I did that. My psychiatrist had connecting the dots. I did that. That one is phenomenal. I love that connecting the dots, man. I'm telling you, that one right there. I already knew my stuff, but it like really opened it up, and then it was really easier to facilitate it to other people. That one right there, I tilt my hat to you, man. That was a good one.
The one lifer story in that's my
yeah story. Yeah.
So, and I got to tell you, that the difference between my second parole hearing when I was denied and my third parole hearing when I was found suitable, all of that's put into connecting the dots, and that was I'm basically responsible for that one, and that's my baby. So thank you for the kudos on that. We've gotten a lot of really great feedback, and I remember a time when that we on the inside, it was almost impossible to get out, and we on the inside, we thought, well, you know what, if I can just make it over that hurdle to get out of prison, after that, everything's going to be great and it'll all be downhill from there.
No.
But the reality is it's not the truth. That's not the truth. We tell people that there's 2 aspects to being found suitable. One is your self-awareness, your ability to understand your motivations at the time of your crime and the foundation of those motivations. Causative factors isn't, hey, he made me mad and so I beat him up. That's not causative factors. Causative factors are, these are the things that I learned how to believe when I was just a child, and now I'm operating on those beliefs. And so I believe that my responsibility is I need to pop this guy in the head because of what X and X, whatever. But the reality is that the second part is that once we understand ourselves, that's not enough. We also then have to know how to purvey that to the Board of Parole hearings. We need to be able to talk about it. We need to be able to put it out there and say, listen, I know my causative factors, and I can outline them like this. Here it is. This happened to me. It caused me to believe this, and this belief caused me to behave like this. And this this behavior, this is how that behavior connects to the crime I committed against society and against this human being.
Most definitely.
It's really excellent. I do want to jump into real world reentry challenges, but how about Daryl and Sean, go ahead and introduce yourself to David so he just understands a little bit about where you are in the process.
Okay. I'm Sean Conley. I did 28 years for first degree murder and carjacking. I got a 44 sentence. I got 29 years to life for the murder and 44 years for the carjacking. I'm a gang member. I was a gang member. I went to prison, participating in gang activity, drug activity, everything that you can think of, which you already know how it is in there. I eventually started, I met a guy named Joaquin Jordan, who eventually started changing my life, and a lady named Dr. Barber, who came into my life and started seeing things in me. And I started going to groups called VAOP, Victim Awareness Offenders Program, that she created, Dr. Barber. And I just started engaging in it and not allowing the peer pressure of the prison world to stop me from getting in there. They piqued my interest. And so as I engaged more and more into the group and into learning what Joaquin was teaching us, I wanted something different. I wanted something different in life. And so I started going in a different direction. I ended up getting kicked out of one prison, went to another prison. I met Daryl after I've been to a few other prisons. Met a guy named Michael. We all connected and started talking and started creating groups. When me and Daryl got to Sadef Corcoran, there was like maybe 2 groups on the yard. It was AA and NA. And so me and Daryl connected together, started, and a guy by the name of Michael Baldwin connected together and started creating the groups on their yard, which was taboo. A lot of officers didn't want groups on their yard, so we created groups, started coming together, changing my life, and I'm home. But as I'm home, I realized that, like you said, that we just think that, okay, all I got to do is just find out who I am, change my thinking, and then get out and everything just peaches and cream. But it wasn't like that, not for me and Daryl. I'm going through a lot of things, but I have a strong support team. I have a strong relapse prevention plan that I look to, and I look to that every day. I go to it, I read it, and that's some of the things that me and Daryl talks about on this show, is about how to deal with the life and the different things that come upon us while we're out on the streets, because it's not all peaches and cream as we think. And so that's me. That's me. I don't want to go into a long story.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
But that's me.
Good morning. Congratulations, first of all, to you, David. I appreciate your honesty and the work that you're doing. Please continue to do so. I'm Daryl. A lot of our listeners there are people listening to us more and more. They really don't know our story, our situation. Like Sean just sharing, I was arrested in 1988. I was 17 years old for second-degree murder. And I was a gang member. And what people don't know, the gang culture, whoever gets arrested first, that's who takes the case. You know, you're supposed to free the guys, you know. So I was that person. And I told him I did it. Did not know, did not know the consequences or the repercussions of saying I did it. However, you go through the stages of trial, and I got sentenced to 15 years to life. For most people, get sentenced to 15 years of life. Within 10 years, they go to the board, they're out, maybe 15, 17. I ended up doing 33 years. I came in prison young, as I said. I was a gang member. I didn't want nobody to tell me what to do and how to do it. So I asked the guys, how do I get to the top? And I did everything I could to get to the top. You know what that means. And get to the top, you realize that you're lonely. It's a terrible place to be, because now everyone, you know, doesn't want you to be where you're at. So that didn't last long. However, I went to the board a total of 8 times. And like I mentioned last week, for the first 5 times, I didn't have a clue. When they told me what is insight, when they asked me causal factors and character defects, warning signs, triggers, what is that? I thought that was a new language. So I had to go and learn. And I had to go talk to people who I seen were very positive and trying to get out of prison. And it meant separating myself from my own alliances and allegiances to get to people who were aligned and had allegiance to freedom and success, which led me to SADF, where I met Sean, and we clicked immediately. I mean, we clicked immediately, and I seen a lot of good in him. He watches people. he really pays attention. So I guess he's seen something in me that I didn't even see in myself, you know. But we came together again, like you may mention. We met a guy named Mike. Mike also was very, very proactive, very pro-social, doing everything he can do to make the prison a better place. And we all came together. We formulated an alliance. And as he may mention, there were only 2 groups, A and NA. Drugs has never been my thing. Alcohol has never been my thing. My thing was gangs, selling drugs, fast money, things that go with that. So I needed more. And I wanted to articulate to the board who I was at the time of the commission of my crime. I also wanted to articulate to the board who I had become over the years. And I wanted to know from them precisely, who do I need to be to get out of prison? So I went to the board and I asked them, what do I need to do? Who do I need to be? And lay it out. And I had a commissioner named Patricia Cassidy, and she laid it out for me. After telling me I don't want to get out, after telling me that there's no way that I'm going to be able to get myself to the point where I could be free before 10 years. And I challenged her. That was in 2017. I went to the board 3 times, and in 2021, I was released. With I think one of the toughest commissioners in California right now, because he was a warden at Tehachapi Prison. He worked there for 20 years. So it was difficult, but we overcame, we adjusted, we identified our character defects, we developed coping skills, we know our warning signs, our triggers, and we thrive heavily on relapse prevention. And I want to say this, David, wonderful, because people have been listening to us. And now here a man comes in, introduces himself. You're saying the exact same thing we've been saying. So there is definitely a need for people to know who they are, for self-awareness.
Yes.
Definitely a need for relapse prevention, and definitely a need to know that it's not an easy road to get found suitable. And once you're found suitable, there's still a road. Yes. There's still a road. And I think that's when
the struggle begins, really.
Really?
That's when the struggle begins.
And I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna get out the way, because I know everyone has a lot to share. I was supposed to parole to Modesto, work for Legacy Alliance, also work with the law firm of Tracy Lund. And I mean, we had everything laid out for me. Like Sean also. When it came time for me to be paroled, not viable where I was supposed to go. All of a sudden, you know, it's not gonna happen. So they sent me to Los Angeles, and I got released 3 weeks prior to the date that was set. So all my paperwork was not concluded. So I came out, I had to get a birth certificate. That was 30 days. I had to get a social security card. That was another 30 days. I'm walking around with a state ID for 60 days. then go to the DMV to get an ID. Okay. And you know, that's a waiting period because there's COVID. So you get everything by appointment. Then you have to take a written test. I failed 3 times. Then you got to get a driver's test after you pass. I mean, it's been just hurdles after hurdles, but the determination has to be set within you. And I'm motivated to succeed. And then you got to be employed. Remember, you can't be employed, you don't have an ID. So what do you do when you get out and CDC is not funding? And I'm in a transition house where you have to pay from the pocket. How am I gonna do this? So fortunately, I do have a good support system, family and friends who care. But I just want to start this off because I know both of you are gonna say the same things in different ways. That I want people, our listeners, to know that the struggle is real. We're feeling it. They didn't just let us out of prison and everything's good because they see us and they think everything's good. We're certain time. We might drive nice cars and doing things, but we're out here working hard to give back to society, to help change the madness and the destruction that we created. So we want to be a part of society equally. And I want people to understand that. And we're willing to do whatever it takes.
Most definitely.
That's enough
So,
for me right now.
David, I think that it's pretty clear, should be clear as to why these two are my co-hosts. But why don't you jump in and start talking about reentry services? I think also there's a lot of topics there, like they're saying, the struggle from the gate is there, and it's not just all roses and all of it.
One of the things I think that we don't think about on the way out of that gate, and I know you guys can relate to this. I remember leaving the prison and getting to the parking lot, and my wife was there to pick me up, and she wanted to kiss, and I'm like, okay, hurry up and get in the car. Let's get out of here before they change their mind. You know, you guys know that feeling. And we think, okay, I've made it now. It's time to go. Everything's beautiful. But I got to tell you that we've got stories that we can tell. One of them is there's been a couple of guys that have paroled that we know about, that whose family threw them a big old party on the day they got out or the day after they got out. They went home to this party and had a heart attack, both of them, because it was just too much. Because just walking out of that gate is so emotionally overwhelming. I tell people this all the time, you know, guys that got determined sentences for the last 2 weeks before they get out, they can't sleep because they know they're getting out. But guys with life-term prison sentences, it doesn't even faze us, because you know what? It doesn't even become real that we're getting out until we've been out for a couple of weeks. It's like,
Most
okay, I'm out
definitely.
here. What's really going on? I remember a few days out, I went to a transitional housing that had a 5 o'clock curfew for the first 10 days. And so I thought, well, that's a little bit drastic, but I mean, at least I'm not in prison. Second day, I realized that 5 o'clock curfew was necessary because I needed to sit down on the edge of my bed and process all of the stuff that had happened that day. And you guys I see it in your face. You relate right now. But because just being out is overwhelming, you know, because I did 23 and a half. You guys both did more than that, you know, 30, 33, and I forgot how much on Sean. So, but the point is that the two greatest changes that I've ever gone through. One was going to prison, and the other one was getting out. It was monumental. Getting out of prison was, and you know, going in, I mean, you're going to get that change. You know, there ain't no way out of that. But getting out, I understand why some guys check back in. You know, I mean, I don't promote that, but there's people that do that. And so there's a few things that I want to say. One of the things that we promote at Life Support Alliance is that when a lifer paroles from prison, that he goes to a transitional housing, not just any transitional housing, but one that has other lifers in it. Because you know what? We need lifers. We need other lifers. Elizabeth is a great woman. My wife is a great woman. They love us. They want to support us. They don't have a clue. They do not have a clue. And how do you ask somebody, hey, how do you use the bus? It's been so long since I've been on a bus. The last time I got on with a pistol, and they didn't say nothing. So how do I do it the right way? So not only after 20 or 30 years are we paroling to a completely different place. You can parole back to the same household you left, and it's a different place. But on top of that, we are paroling with a completely different mindset. And what I'm saying is we lived our life before prison on a what can I get basis. You know, I'm always looking for what I can get, what can I take, what can I get, what can I con my way out of. And when we get out of prison on a what can I give basis. And so everything that we looked at one way before, we're looking at a completely different way now. And it's brand new. It's brand new. Another big thing about getting paroled is that, you know, whether we realize it or not, you guys were talking a little bit about it. On the inside, we've got a support network. You know, you need a soup until third draw, you know who to go get it. You know, if the cops come and they toss up your locker and your stuff's all over the floor and you need to talk, you know who you can go talk to, and they're going to understand. And you parole and you leave your entire support network inside. One person's not going to do it. One person cannot cover that. You can't get out and say, okay, you know, baby mama going to take care of that for me. That ain't happening.
It's impossible.
You'll wear them out. They'll commit suicide. If you put all of what you need on one person, they're gone. They're going to go away. We need a broad support network because we're heavy. We get out, we're heavy because we're literally, I don't want to use the word retarded, but I mean, we're socially retarded. We have no way of connecting to society because we haven't. We've never before tried to connect to society the way that we do when we get out of prison. So we strongly urge that you go to a transitional housing with other lifers who have, you know, one guy's been out 2 weeks and the stuff you want to learn in the first 2 weeks, he just learned and he's happy to tell you. And then another guy's been out 2 months and the stuff you want to learn from him. And it's easy to say, hey, Sean, man, show me how to use the bus ticket. You know, I ain't never done it, you know, and you're like, oh yeah. I just learned that yesterday. Let's go I'll show you. And you know, how do we do Kmart, you know, or Walmart or whatever? How do we do that? What's up with this debit card?
Oh yeah.
Where
Gas card.
You know, where do I go to get my social security card? How do I do that? What is a birth certificate? I don't think I've ever seen one. You know? So and there's 100 little things that the people who have been in society all of their life, they don't even realize. You know, I knew a guy that came home and moved. He had a girl that he got connected back up with, that they were boyfriend and girlfriend before prison. And then he got out and he moved into her house and she went to work and he rearranged all of her cupboards. I'm going to make everything better. And she came home and she says, what did you do? He says, oh, it's all better now. She says, nothing's better. This ain't your house. This is my house. Put it back. And he was devastated, you know. Another big issue that we have as lifers is that while we're in prison and we're hanging around nothing but men, with all these testosterones, we learn how to be direct. And you guys know what I'm talking about. We are so direct that it is offensive.
Yes.
It is offensive to people. And we don't even realize it, because somebody walks up to you and starts talking to you. And if you don't know what they're talking about in the first 4 words, it's like, get to the point. What's up? Am I right or wrong?
Absolutely.
That's what I'm going through right now. One of my lady friends.
And
she wants to talk, and I'm like, just get to the point.
Yeah. No.
You know?
Shut your mouth and let them have their say. They need that.
Most definitely.
That. Yeah. And there ain't no other way to put it. Shut your mouth. You know, no disrespect, no offense intended. But we ain't in prison anymore. And I'm 9 years out and I still struggle with that. You know, get the point. What's up?
I'm struggling with it now. I
know you are. I know you are.
Lie.
So we don't communicate the same way that we used to. And I mean, it was rough before we went in. But before we went in, we didn't care who we offended.
Right.
And now, by need, we need to care who we offend, because we're trying to live life on what we can give, not what we can get. And get to the point is give me. That's what that is. So I want to say another thing that we've discovered is that guys that get in trouble, that have problems on parole, we get out of prison and we're on this pink cloud, and this pink cloud is a bunch of energy to do the right thing, even when things are twisted. You know, we're gonna. Daryl said it, man. He says, "I'm on a mission, you know, and it's tough, but I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it." And I believe, Daryl, I believe you. But the energy of the pink cloud starts to subside about 2 years out. I'm just going to say that because it's right around the 2-year out period that the guys that get in trouble get in the most. That's when the guys that go back. That's when the guys that slip back into drug addiction or the homies or whatever they do. That's about the time that they get comfortable enough and relaxed enough to slip back, because we get this idea on the way out. We get this idea that everything has changed. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to warn you right now that the old man never dies. You got that old gang member inside of you. He's there. You got that old desire of the feel of a warm pistol in your hand. That desire is going to be there. It's never going to go away. All the support of all your homies around you, and you're strong because we're strong. That's never going to go away. If it wasn't good, you'd have never done it to begin with.
Right.
Absolutely.
So there's it's good. It feels good.
I agree with that.
And so because it never goes away, your vigilance has to be as equally as strong for the rest of your life. Most lifers that get out, especially the ones that are the most successful, more often than not, get involved in some kind of pro-social behavior. You guys are doing this podcast. That's great. It holds you to a standard.
Yeah.
Because without it, ain't nobody looking now. Let me get you. I see the guys on the corner. Let me go kick it. I know that dude right there.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Oh, it's going to be all right. I'm just going to hang out for a minute.
That's interesting that you say that, because as of right now, I don't think me and Daryl is going through that process right now of let me go hang out, let me do this with the old fellas, let me put a pistol in my hand, let me go smoke some weed, let me sell some drugs.
You guys are how old? How long out now? How long out? 3 or 4
A little
months?
over 150 days.
Yeah. You just barely got out.
Exactly. And like you,
go ahead,
David. Like you said,
this is around the 2-year mark. That's when it starts getting stupid.
Exactly. We're still in the cloud right now.
Yeah. And that's great.
And I tell you this, thank you for the fair warning. And I'm gonna say this because a lot of the individuals that I know out here who've been in this situation, not one of them has told me, hey, stay vigilant, because in about 20 something months from now, you know how we are about time. We count it down to the second. You're going to get comfortable and you can lapse. No one has given me that. So I appreciate that, David. This is phenomenal information, because pushing so hard to be successful can tire you out. And if we get tired, then we're going to get comfortable. You're going to go to sleep. And like you just said, it can creep back up, at the most, at a time where you least expect it. So as you're talking, I'm processing. I'm like, wow, that did happen to so-and-so. That did happen to so-and-so, and then I looked at myself. It's a mirror right here. I just looked at me while you were talking, David. I said, wow, I got to make sure that doesn't happen to me. So I appreciate that.
I did the same thing.
Really.
Good. That's good, man. And so we got a job to do, fellas. You guys are facilitators. And I tell people, I used to be addicted to drugs, and I used to be addicted to the fast life. And now I've changed my addiction. I'm addicted to Life Support Alliance. I'm addicted to doing good for other people. And you guys are facilitators. Doesn't that make you feel good?
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
Remember, let me ask you, when you're talking to a few fellas and you see in one of their faces, you see the light bulb come on, you're like, man, that was what I was working for right there. It's right. An addiction, and it's fine. Let it be an addiction. It's all good. It's better to be addicted to that than to be addicted to the things because gang lifestyle is an addiction too.
That's right. Absolutely right. So, and most people don't think about it. We talked last week about flawed thinking, and one of the characteristics of a gang member, where anything negative you say about me, it becomes my reality. Anyone who opposes me, I look at you as my adversary. I got to get rid of you. Gang lifestyle is very much addictive.
Most definitely.
And if you want to feel powerful, you go and inflict, pressure, fear upon your community, People don't know that gang members are domestic terrorists. And I'm saying this. Gang members are domestic terrorists. Your people around you are afraid of you.
Yes.
That's not a reality that I want to live with.
I tell people this when I do my presentations. I tell people, you know, I shot and I killed a man. I went on the run for 3 days, and then I was in court I was going to trial for murder. And the only one that was surprised I was in that courtroom was me.
That's
everybody
right.
Everybody else seen it coming. Man, oh, that boy, he's nuts. He's off the chain, you know. And I'm like, oh yeah, I got this. Everything's good. I got a handle on it. I got this under control. And that mindset of, hey, I got this under control, that's a mindset that still lives with me. And so I need you. You know, I need you to peep my game. I need you to say, hey, Dave, what are you doing right there? You slipping? And as soon as you say it, I can recognize it, but I don't see it on my own. I'm 31 years clean and sober from drugs and alcohol.
Congratulations.
And I agree with that. That's amazing that you said that, because I had an incident. I haven't talked to Elizabeth about it.
Brace yourself.
And so I had an incident at my transitional house. And so I ended up getting kicked out. It wasn't a good situation. Ended up bad. Me and my roommate, it was bad. And so I called Daryl, and I didn't get to call Elizabeth yet. I was a little embarrassed. Not a little, I was embarrassed. Let's just keep it, you know, on this show we keep it 100. I was embarrassed. It's amazing how you have to always stay tapped in to who you are and pay attention to what's going on. And so one of the things I learned out of this situation is to learn how to remember that just because I've changed, other people haven't changed. And to know that I need to reflect back into me and to look for that window that's open to remove myself from situations. And I didn't do it. And like I told Daryl, there was an opportunity for me to remove myself from the situation, and I didn't remove myself from the situation. I ended up engaging in it, and it could have cost me. It really could have. It could have cost me. But luckily, I got a good parole agent. Her supervisor is backing me up. But it's amazing that you mentioned that. You definitely have to pay attention to what's going on.
The bigger thing is, as David made mention, and we understand, the old you is always there.
Always.
And like I said, when we talk, and Elizabeth, he's going to talk to you at length, and we don't have enough time on the show for him to talk to you about it. But I'm going to say this. We always have to look for a way to walk away from a situation before it escalates. Because the old us, we took everything came our way. You know, we took, just like David just said, I got this. I can handle this. I can deal with this.
Right.
Because men handle their own things, right?
Right. And I could have went and talked to the house
that
man.
Is a lie.
I could have removed myself, but I was making excuses saying, well, if I go talk to the house man, then I'm snitching, right? But like my parole agent and Daryl was saying, hey, bro, this is your life. Like, dude is bringing drugs into the room. You talked to him 4 times already. He's not hearing you. He doesn't care because he's living a different lifestyle than you. You should have went and told the house man, hey, I need you to move me.
Plus,
move me to another room, do whatever you got to do. If dude gets in trouble, that's on him.
Plus, even that term snitching, that idea of snitching, that comes out of your old lifestyle.
Most definitely.
You know, what we do today, pro-social behavior is pro-social behavior is to inform the authorities of things that are not going right.
Most definitely. And that's what I got from Daryl and Mike Baldwin. It was like, hey, bro, you should have went and told. And from my parole agent and from my and her supervisor. But at the same time, they understood, but I expressed to them that there was a window for me to escape. It got physical. It was bad for his end, but I'm disappointed in myself. But at the same time, I've forgiven myself already. And I just said, you know what, Sean? This is an area for you to learn and grow in.
You've learned an
Right?
important
And
lesson,
so
yeah.
I'm okay with that because I know I'm not perfect. And I know that this free world is a whole nother monster from being incarcerated.
One of the things that comes up in conversation with newly paroled lifers, especially when they're looking for a job is, you know, the question of, do I tell them I've been in prison or don't I? And my answer is always be completely honest. Be as honest as you can. And what we've learned in order to get out of prison, what we've learned is to take a negative and turn it into a positive. We had to do that in the boardroom. And so
Yes.
I want to say that in a job interview, you take the negative and you turn it into a positive. Yes, I committed murder. I was convicted and I went to prison. And the positive that comes out of it is that I'm a better person. I know myself better than anybody else on your crew.
That's right.
And I understand myself better than anybody else you have on your crew. And because of that, I've got a lot more to offer. So
and that's the same thing I was telling the people at the transitional house, because they were scared to tell them that they had a felony, they was incarcerated for this. And I was like, first of all, there's a law that's passed that the employer gets an initiative, you know, like $3,000, I think, on the tax break. They get other little things. And so I was just like, let them know, be honest with them, because they're going to find out eventually. So let them know the truth. And like you said,
and if
just
they
let them know
find
that
out
I'm
on
gonna
their
work hard.
own, if they find out on their own and they find out you've lied to them, then
They're gonna find
the lie is going to get rid of you. But
yes.
turning a negative into a positive. Now, I want to challenge you, Sean, to take the situation that you've just been through and see if there's a way you could have turned that negative into a positive.
I'm already doing it.
Okay.
I'm already doing it.
That's good, man.
David, what is your insight then into that situation regarding Sean and being a new parolee in terms of, you know, because if that situation was bring that back to the cell before you're going to board of parole hearings, you would have moved, you would have told the officer, you would have taken all these steps. But now the parolee mindset, as you were saying, that's always lingering. I think you said the mindset's always with us. What happened to it in those moments? Where does it go?
And I think the easiest answer to that is that, you know, we get this focus that we talked about right in the beginning, that, you know, all I really have to do, I'm doing all of this just for this one goal to achieve parole. And then after that, I get to relax. And we don't realize that everything that we've done to build up to achieving parole has to remain a part of our life. Those are the things that have to remain. You know, I mean, there's a half a dozen different positive ways that Sean could have related to his current situation. And, but I mean, they all would have ended up the same, but, I mean, I don't know who this other person was, but I mean, I care enough about them knowing that they paroled from prison. They're a fellow human being to say, hey, look, man, you got a problem. And, you know, and you're on a destructive path right now and you're about to wreck. And so, you know, I can't have that in my life, but I'd like, you know, I'm not going to be in this situation and I'd like you not to be in it either. What can I do to help? You know, because I'm not going to let it rise.
And that was my thing, David, is that I had already had like 4 conversations with him before this, for at least an hour. But like I said, there's no excuse. I'm not going to sit here on our podcast and make an excuse. There was a window that I could have removed myself from the situation. But as he started, because as he was high, I understood that, okay, he's high. He's high off crank. He's acting ballistic. Don't go there. And so as he started walking towards me and then walking away and walking back towards me, yeah, my mind started clicking back into, you know, fight or flight. But like I told Daryl, there was an opportunity for me to just say, you know what, buddy, I talk to you when you're not, you know, when you're not high, and leave. And I didn't do that, and I stood there. And so that's what I was upset with myself about. Because it's like, okay, you're free. Like, are you really willing to jeopardize yourself? So was I on some prideful stuff? I didn't want to move. I had cement in my shoes, and I did. I had cement in my shoes. And so I was upset, like that cement has been gone. I used one of them little cement jackhammers, you know, to get them out of my boots to where I can walk away from situations. And so I didn't walk away from it. And but like I said, I'm not gonna beat myself up. It's a learning lesson. All praise to be to the Most High that let me be able to learn from it and not get into trouble, get sent back to prison. Because when you think about it, I could have went back to prison. And like I was explaining to him, like, you're a parolee from the federal prison, but I'm a lifer. So my parole conditions are different than yours. You violate parole, you go back, you get out 6 months, a year. I violate parole, I go back, life term is back on me. I have to start all over again. I go to parole every year to see if I can get out, right? And I've seen guys, as Daryl knows, that we had guys that was in there that came back as lifers, and they was going to parole every year for 5 years, 3 years straight. Laws changed, and so I get it. And I know, I'm gonna tell everybody this, I'm gonna tell the audience this, that same situation might be a little different, but it's gonna come back around to me for me to pass it. It's not gonna go away. It's just something how the creator works, right? And so I'm ready. And like you said, 2 years, we start falling into this other area. I'm glad you mentioned that to me and Daryl and to our audience, and to Elizabeth, because now I'm gonna be alert about that. I'm gonna be mindful of that. Not even waiting for 2 years. I'm gonna be mindful every day.
That's good.
Slipping into
That's
the
good.
comfortable.
Because all it is complacency.
Yeah.
I mean, the pink cloud wears off. I tell guys 3 or 4 weeks out, I tell them, you know what, man, your feet haven't even touched the ground yet. You know, and I know you guys can relate. You know, I revel in those guys, you know, because I remember all too well, man, what a wonderful feeling it is, but at the same time, how overwhelming it is, you know? So what else, what other questions you guys got about reentry? How about, what about relationships?
That's what I was gonna ask you about. So how was your relationship like when you first got out? Did you get into a relationship? Did you wait?
I met Vanessa, my wife. I actually met her while I was inside. Don't tell nobody I said this, but I met her over an illegal cell phone. So
okay. Well, everybody knows now.
Yeah. So it's not a secret. But she was helping a friend of mine, and then I threw a whole bunch of more people in the bucket, but I wasn't one of them, you know, and she was impressed by me taking chances to help other people. And I was impressed by the fact that she continued to help when most people would have quit. Because, you know, helping somebody in prison, a lot of people want to raise their hand and say, oh yeah, I'll be glad to help. And then about, you know, they start getting into it and realize how much work it's going to be. And they're like, well, I guess.
Fade away.
She pushed all the way through. She's a wonderful woman, and we fell in love. We got married in the visiting room in Avenal, and she continued to make waves. I had to quit visiting after I got found suitable because the officers in the visiting room decided they were going to get my date taken away.
So how did it work when you got out? So I understand, like, we can hold a relationship in prison, right? We know how to do that.
Yeah.
But when you got out, how did she deal with you, and how did you deal with her? Because you mentioned about when they're talking to us, and I told you that I do the same thing with my girl. Is I wanted to get straight to the point. Stop sending me around in a circle, you know, just get straight to the point. And because we're straightforward.
Yeah.
So how did you deal with that?
I got to tell you that I'm still working on that. I've been out 9 years and our relationship is not all roses. You know, we got to talk together a lot. And one of the things that I find really difficult is listening to her, you know, and I got to stop and I got to listen to her. And another thing that I got to realize is that she hasn't been through all of the things that I've been through. She hasn't been through all of the self-examination. She's never needed to, you know.
Most definitely.
So she's still got some of these things hanging on, you know, like I don't want to talk bad about her. I'm just saying that it's unusual to find somebody that's on an emotional level with us lifers who have been paroled. It's just not, it's unusual.
Most definitely.
It's
I agree.
It's unnatural, you know.
But can I just jump in, David? Because, you know, my husband hasn't been to prison and I haven't been to prison. Not like we couldn't have been to prison, but or jail. But relationships are difficult for everybody, and not to just make it about that as well, but also about humans are complicated. And my husband tells me to get to the point all the time, right? And I'm after him all the time. And we're working on our stuff. And you talked about, David, mindset. You're that same guy. You're still that same, for lack of a better word, I'm not being very politically correct. You're that same criminal, and you have to be vigilant because that's your character defect that you're always working on. Well, by the way, me too, right? And everybody else. So
Okay,
I'll
Liz.
tell you, if you saw me at 12 years old, it's quite similar, right? And so we can all get on each other's nerves, and patience, tolerance is so important, just as a human consideration.
And that and I think that that's a big key right there. You said patience and tolerance. You know, patience and tolerance with one another, because Vanessa and I, we think a lot alike. We both really we're pushing Life Support Alliance, and we're doing everything we can to get into the prisons and to help guys. You know what it's like, man, when you see the light bulb go on, you know, and we live for that. And, you know, and we strive together for that, but we see it coming about from two different angles, you know, and I'm fighting for my angle to get stronger, and she's fighting for her angle to get stronger. And we cross paths sometimes. And it's tough. I got to tell you that we've had to take it to counseling. We found a really great counselor that helped us to understand one another better. And 9 out of 10 prison relationships don't make it on the outside.
That's
and the
true.
reason, I'm going to tell you what I believe the reason is. The reason I believe is because the relationship we have with each other in prison is really a make-believe relationship. It really is, because you don't wake up together, you know,
right.
You're not going through life together. You're doing the visiting room together.
Right.
You know, and so what do you do in the visiting room? You go get your best shirt. You have a homie iron it for you, you know, and you put all your cologne on, and you're all shaved up, and your teeth are brushed, and you know, and you memorized a couple of jokes to tell while you're out there or whatever, and you take your best you to the visiting room, and then your partner gets this image of you that they add to in their own mind, and you
right.
do the same with them. And so now all of a sudden, both of you are in love with this other individual who doesn't even exist, because the person you think your partner is in the visiting room, it's really not that person. Most of that's made up in your head, you know, from the pieces and parts that you put together. You make a soup out, and you put all the seasoning in. You've created a person, and that's not the person you're paroling to. And the person that's paroling to her is not the person that she had in prison, because we don't know each other.
Right.
We really don't. And so I think the key to a good relationship with someone that you started with a relationship in prison is to step back and start, you know, from two paces behind where you think you're at, and and then walk it forward from there, because you got to get past the fantasy. I mean, a lot of times that fantasy from the visiting room is the very thing that destroys the relationship.
And even coming out of prison, you meet one out of prison. Like I met mine out of prison. I didn't know her while I was incarcerated. She's a wonderful woman, but I wasn't expecting, to be honest, a lot of things that come with it. She wants to talk about a lot of things. She
For a
really
woman-
goes in depth about things, and I'm like, okay, no. And she like, baby, don't shut me down. You're not hearing me, right? And so she keeps saying that to me, but I feel that I'm hearing her, but I keep hearing her say she's not hearing me. I have to check myself like, hey, hold on. If she's saying that, then I need to ask her, what do I need to do to hear you so you can feel that I'm hearing?
And you know what? Let me speak to that just for a minute, because we can think we understand what they're saying 3 or 4 words into the sentence, and maybe we do. But talking is a romance for a woman. They
Yes.
want
Yes.
it's not that you understand what they're saying, it's that you're willing to sit there and hear their voice, you know, and to give them your attention. Okay, I'm not paying attention to the Rams game right now.
On
I'm
my
not paying
phone.
attention, you know, to whatever it is, you know, Daryl's calling, I'm not answering the phone, because honey, this is your time. And
Most
even if
definitely.
you're telling me something that I taught you, you know, and I already know, I'm going to let you speak. I don't do that very well.
But that's basic male-female communication styles as well, not just necessarily a parolee in a relationship.
Well, it just makes it a little harder for us because of the lifestyle being in prison, right? And so when I used to just sitting there listening, it's, hey, get to the point. What's happening? All right, let's do this.
But
Right.
it goes before that too, because you're trying to live your life on a different basis now, because before prison, if she was talking and you didn't want to hear it, you'd say, shut up.
You right.
See what I'm saying? And she either shut up, or, you know, you could go find somebody else.
You right.
See what I'm saying? But now you've
Yeah.
made a commitment. Now you've made a commitment to a woman, not because they're not disposable anymore. You're on a different
True.
track. And
True.
there's a whole long learning curve to this whole thing.
And that's what I'm thankful about mine. She's very patient with me. I'm patient with her. Sometimes she loses patience with
Daryl's
me.
back in the car. Look.
And we love seeing you again today, Daryl. Thank you for the sacrifice for the show.
Thank you. They gave me a curfew and a deadline to be in Modesto because we're going to start this training. And I know if I don't get there, I don't want to get violated by my parole agent. And and my family don't even understand. So I got to make sure. So, David, we're going to do this again.
Okay.
Elizabeth, we do it every week, but I have to head back. If I don't, I'm going to get in trouble, and I'm not getting in trouble for anybody. So,
All right. And hey, I'm going to try to get some information and see if we can't pump it up a little bit with
Thank you
our
very much.
resources. Yes, sir.
Thank you for showing up on our show. Thank you for positive and super good information that you have given us. We look forward to having you back on here, man.
All right, man. And if you want, I got suggestions of guys that you can bring up.
We would definitely take the suggestions.
All right.
All right.
I love you, man.
Love you too, man. God bless you.
Yo. All right, man. You guys have a good day.
David, thank you so much. I know the guys probably have 100 other things they want to talk to you about. But thank you so much for your time.